Hi everyone, my name is Jamie and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, I make videos about knitting and fiber arts and that's pretty much it. So take a look around, subscribe if you like what you see. You can also check me out on Instagram and TikTok at Jamie_creates. I also have a Patreon if you'd like to support me over there. I do exclusive content that includes the monthly Patreon only podcast, behind the scenes of what I'm working on, pattern discount codes and more. The link will be in the description if you'd like to check that out, but obviously no pressure at all. You might notice I'm in a different setting today. I'm just currently dog sitting for my cousins for the day because they needed someone to watch him. So hopefully this isn't too random. I actually managed to get a pretty good spot with like a big window. Also, if you're wondering what I'm wearing, this is my kaleidoscope cardigan, which is my own pattern from my upcoming book, Fast and Fabulous Knits. My book is available for pre-order. There'll be a link in the description which will take you to my website, and from there you can see all the links for where you can pre-order my book. The book is going to be available worldwide, but the US release is on April 2nd and internationally it will be about 6 to 8 weeks later. Sorry about that, not in my control, but let's get on with the video. Today's video was actually inspired by Bethany from Well Loved Knits. She did this a couple of months ago where she talked about her top 5 yarn brands. I thought it was a really interesting video and I find it interesting to hear about what different knitters and designers like using and what brands they like, what yarns they're drawn to over others. I feel like it says a lot about you. I feel like I do talk a lot about different yarn brands in my podcasts, but this is kind of a way to condense that information if anyone was just like wondering what my favorites are. And this video is going to be focusing purely on commercial brands. I do use a lot of hand-dyed yarn and I really love to support indie dyers when I can, but I feel like that should be a separate video because I feel like the business model of indie dyers is quite different. The yarn isn't always accessible, the colorways aren't always accessible, some of them are limited edition or only on pre-order or go in drops and things like that. So I just figured that could be maybe a separate video where I talk about my favorite indie dyers if that's something that you're interested in. But yeah, today I thought I would just limit it to commercial brands and hopefully that's also maybe a little bit more accessible. I've got a pretty good range in terms of like where the yarns are available. I've tried to kind of keep that a bit diverse, but it was also kind of hard to choose because I don't tend to branch out that much. I've kind of noticed, and even if I do, some of the yarns that I've tried maybe aren't kind of good enough to be in the top 5, and the yarns that I really enjoy and the brands that I really enjoy I tend to kind of come back to over and over again. So I actually couldn't even come up with 5 brands that I would say is like are my favorite commercial brands, and maybe that's just because I have been using a lot of hand-dyed yarn, especially this last year, but I wanted to still have 5. So some of the brands that I'm going to be talking about are actually brands that I'm pretty new to, but I've really loved working with their yarn so far. I'm going to be talking about both the brand and a specific yarn because for all of these brands I'm talking about, I have not used every single yarn that they have available, but maybe I've used one or more and I've been a fan of whatever I have used. So I'll be talking particularly about the yarns that I've used because it's not possible that I've used every single yarn, every single brand that I'm talking about has on offer. Like that would be a bit crazy. I'm gonna also just show you the yarns and maybe what I've made with them. And we'll talk a little bit about the specific yarns that I've used, but also about the brand as a whole. So the first brand that I want to talk about is Malabrigo. And that is because it is, I feel like, very accessible in terms of like, is it easily accessed? Can people find it? And I feel like I have seen Malabrigo all over the world. I've traveled a fair bit and I feel like it's available in so many countries around the world. Obviously, I don't think it's available in every single country, but what I like about Malabrigo is that you can't go onto the Malabrigo website and like buy the yarn. They only sell through local yarn stores. So in order to support Malabrigo, you do also support a local yarn store, and I think that is great. In terms of price, some of the yarns are definitely on the pricier side, but the quality is just perfection. I've used quite a few of their yarns and I've never been disappointed, which I mean, there's not much more to say than that. So I actually have 2 of the yarns with me that I can show you. So this is the Rios yarn in the shade Almond Blossom. It's worsted weight and it's 100% superwash merino. So this yarn is actually the yarn that I used for my cardigan that I'm currently wearing. I did use 3 strands held together. You'll obviously notice that they're not the same color. There is pink in it, if you can see, you know. You can see the pink there, but I did hold 2 other colors with it and it made for a really, really nice fabric. Nice and cozy, but not too thick and not too warm. It's perfect for like in between weather, which I feel like we were experiencing today. It's kind of like, I don't know, 19 degrees today. So I was like, yeah, I throw this one on. It's like not too bulky, it's not too fluffy. It's just like perfect. And yeah, this is just like a leftover skein that I had because I accidentally miscalculated how much yarn I needed for this and ended up with a bunch of extra skeins, which I will be using for other things. It's just like, it's voluminous. Voluminous is a good word, I think. Yeah, it's honestly so soft and nice to touch, nice to knit with as well, which is a huge deal for me. It's not just about the finished product for me, it's also about the process. So I really gravitate towards yarns that are also really nice to knit with and feel nice when you're knitting it, not just after you've blocked it, you know? They also have a huge range of colorways. The downside is that not every yarn store is gonna stock every single color that they have. They honestly just have too many colors, but I also kind of like that because I'll go to different stores and I'll see different colors. So that's also kind of nice. It's like not every single store has the exact same range, and that also kind of maybe encourages you to go to more than one store and support several stores in order to get the colors that you want. But yeah, they have such a vast range of like beautiful, light, pastel, bright colors that like I'll gravitate towards, but they also have heaps of neutrals. They've got solids, they've got variegated. It's like the whole spectrum of kind of what you would want in a yarn, and that's across like all of their different bases, not just this one. Another one of my absolute favorite Malabrigo yarns is the Rasta yarn, which I currently have caked up. I don't have any hanks to show you, so this is what it looks like after it's been caked up, and this is in the shade Melon, I'm pretty sure. So it's kind of similar to this one, but it's a little bit more like peachy, and this one's a little bit more pink. When it comes to chunky yarn, I've used quite a few from different brands, and honestly I have never used anything like Rasta. It is like unmatched in my opinion. It's just on another level. And to be honest, I wear my knits that are made with Rasta so much more than I wear my other knits. Not because I don't like the other ones or I don't even think the yarn is good. That's actually not true. When I'm actually wearing them, I'm never like, oh, this is so uncomfortable. But there's just something about my Rasta knits that is just like a step above. I never want to take them off when I'm wearing them. It's like, I don't even know. I can't even explain it. They're just shinier, softer. It feels like butter. Like that's like the only kind of word I can think of to describe. I don't know if it's because there's like more of a twist to this yarn than those ones, so they peel a little bit less, and maybe it's also because it's superwash, but for some reason this yarn is just, it's on another level. So even though this one is a little bit pricier than some of the other chunky yarns, which are also definitely on the pricier side, but this one I know that I'm gonna get so much wear out of those knits. Like it is just so worth it for me. I know that when I'm using Rasta, it is always going to be a project that I end up wearing over and over and over again. I've honestly just never been disappointed in anything that I've ever used from Malabrigo. I've used their worsted yarn as well. I know I said this was a worsted, but like they have a yarn literally called worsted, which is like a single ply worsted weight, which was also lovely to work with. And I just really love how like the single ply takes the yarn, takes the dye. And then also I've used their Noventa, which is a kind of a bulky weight version of Rasta, so it's definitely a lot thinner, and I was actually sent some samples of that when it first came out, and I really enjoyed using it. So there's like 100% hit rate with everything I've used from Malabrigo, so yeah, that's like a no-brainer for me in terms of making it into the top 5 yarn brands that I've used. Okay, if you see the dog in the background, I don't know where he is right now. There, just ignore him. This next brand is gonna come as a surprise to literally no one because I feel like I use their yarn and talk about it all the time. And it may be a bit basic of me, but I can't help what I like, okay? I've tried heaps of brands that are like trendy and I have been disappointed, but that is not the case with Wool and the Gang. I am just like the biggest fan of the yarns. I wish they were not so expensive, and I wish they were more easily accessible in Australia, and it really breaks my heart, but it's honestly worth it. I've restrained myself from purchasing for a while because I used a lot of their yarn for the book, and I just am trying to kind of hold back on my purchases, especially after my last trip, but I definitely would love to do more designs with their yarn. So when the time comes when I need to kind of restock my stash, I definitely will be turning towards Wool and the Gang for some of their beautiful yarns. But I actually resisted the Black Friday sale, and I genuinely don't know how I managed. So everyone should be really proud of me for holding back because they have new colors as well. And I was like, I had a cart full and we didn't proceed. So yeah, very proud of myself for that. But I do have some leftover yarns to show that are some of my favorites. Emphasis on some because I've actually tried quite a few of their yarns and I really do love them all, but these are like my two like top tiers. The first one is Feeling Good yarn. This is their like beautiful Aran weight blown yarn. This is just like, it's pretty much a full skein, I'm pretty sure that I have, but for some reason the label isn't on it. And this is in the shade Buttercup Yellow, and like, oh my God, I'm obsessed with it. This is actually the yarn that I used for the attention deficit jumper, which is actually on the front cover of my book. So very special yarn, and it's just so soft. Like, I don't know what else to say about it other than that it is just so soft, so nice to knit with, so nice to wear. It's like a near perfect yarn. I guess the only downside about it is that it pills, but I'm pretty much yet to come by a yarn that doesn't pill in some way. So I'm a bit like whatevs when it comes to pilling, because I just feel like there are like no yarns. There are obviously some yarns that pill more than others, but that would be the only like downside. I've used quite a few yarns like this in terms of like it having that blown chainette airy construction to it, and this is by far my favorite that I've used so far. It is just, it's softer than the others. I don't know why. I don't know why it is, but it's just softer, and the color range is also top tier. A great range of brights, pastels, and neutrals, which I love to see. As much as I'm only really gravitating towards the brighter and more fun colors, there are heaps of options if you're more of a neutral girl that even I've been tempted to get in the past, but I've held back. I would honestly say this is probably my favorite out of all of the colors that they offer in this yarn, but they do have a few new ones that I am like so tempted to get. So we'll have to see which ones I end up getting and if my opinion changes. But for now, this yellow, Buttercup Yellow, is definitely my favorite. Sorry about like rewound skein. I've like used this for swatches and things, but this is my other absolute favorite yarn from Wool and the Gang, and that is Alpacino Merino. Alpacino Merino and I are like soulmates, I have to say. It's a alpaca and wool blend. I'm pretty sure it's 60% merino, 40% alpaca. I don't have the label on me right now. If I'm wrong, it's the other way around, but I'm almost certain it's 60% merino, 40% alpaca. And I don't know how a yarn could be more perfect than this. It is the softest thing. I know I've just said that, but like it is so soft. It is a dream to knit with. It's bulky weight, but it's not like too chunky. It's just like, it's that perfect in between. I feel like I could use it with a whole different range of needle sizes. I've never held double before, but it definitely could be used for like a chunkier yarn if you just hold 2 strands. And the color range for this is top tier. This green is the one that I just keep coming back to because it's beautiful. I mean, and I feel like I just never really see green yarn in this particular shade, and it's just perfect. Okay, the dog is barking, just give me a second. Yeah, I don't know what it is about this shade, but I feel like it's just perfect, and I really feel like I never see yarns in this color. When I'm knitting with this yarn, it feels effortless. There is like no scratchiness at all, no stickiness. The stitches just glide off the needles, and the fabric it creates is just so nice. I like that there's a little bit of a ply. It's a 2-ply yarn, so like it's got the two plies twisted together. So it's got a little bit more structure than like a roving style yarn, but it also still gives that like nice stitch definition. And when this yarn has been blocked, it just gives the most beautiful drape, but the merino's in there to give it a bit more structure as well, which I love. And yeah, I just can't say enough good things. The color range, I'm genuinely obsessed with it. There are so many colors that I love, and there are some that I still haven't even tried yet. Especially some of their new ones, which I just have to try at some point, but got to find the right projects for it because it's not cheap. So I try to be quite intentional when I'm buying this yarn. So yeah, those two I would say are my favorites from Wool and the Gang, but I do also really love their Take Care Mohair yarn. I have tried their Shiny Happy Cotton, which I do enjoy, but I'm just not as much of a cotton person. I've also tried their Big Love Cotton, which I used in my book, which I think is a really cool and interesting and like unique yarn. When I was vegan, that is like the yarn that I was just like scouring the internet for and could never find. So that's a really great one. And then of course their Crazy Sexy Wool and Little Crazy Sexy Wool are like classics that I feel like I shouldn't even need to talk about, because if you've heard of Wool and the Gang, you've definitely heard of those yarns. I also just love that Wool and the Gang are very supportive of independent designers and also just the general knitting community. I feel like they really put a lot of emphasis on highlighting what us, you know, independent makers create. And yeah, I just feel like there's like a lot of kind of mutual respect between the consumer and the brand, and that's really cool. And I just feel like a lot of their yarns, there aren't a lot of alternatives out there that can like replace them. Like I feel like there aren't a lot of dupes because they're very unique and original, and I really like that. That's kind of all I have to say about Wool and the Gang as far as I can think of right now. The next brand I'm going to talk about is actually one that I am very new to and really wasn't actually familiar with at all until my most recent trip that I just did to Scandinavia, but I was seeing this brand literally everywhere. So I don't know why I wasn't aware of it before. It is a Danish brand, but I've been aware of like plenty of the Nordic yarn brands, so I don't know why this one just wasn't on my radar, but it is like so me, and I just don't know how I wasn't aware of it before, but I'm so happy that I am now, because I'm actually currently knitting with it. I casted something on the other day using some of the yarn that I got from them, and I also have some other yarn from them that I'm going to use to design something at some point, so that's exciting. And that is Kaos Yarn. So I have here two different Kaos Yarn skeins. So you can see this like beautiful bright color. This is Vivacious, that's the colorway name of their organic soft merino and organic brushed alpaca. Now, whilst Kaos Yarn doesn't have a huge range of like yarns available of bases, they do have a very big range of colorways, and what I love is that all the colorways are the same across all of their yarn bases. I'm pretty sure they have 3 yarn bases, but I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure all I was seeing, at least at the yarn stores that I went to and I was seeing everywhere, they had these 2 bases, as well as the chunky Andean wool, which is kind of like a single ply, probably like Aran weight yarn, and they all come in the same colors, which I just love. I think it's so fun and makes holding yarns together really, really easy. A lot of yarn companies will do this, but I honestly just really love the color range that they have. And I love that their fluffy yarn is an alpaca yarn and not a mohair. I don't actually have anything really against mohair. I definitely use it. The next few yarns I'm going to show you in this video are mohair yarns, but I also really, really do prefer alpaca, whether it's suri alpaca or just like brushed alpaca like this. For me and like my skin, whilst I'm not like super sensitive to mohair to the point where I can't wear it, I do find alpaca a lot nicer on my skin, and I know there are people who have skin sensitivities that are a lot worse and genuinely like can't wear mohair, and I'm sure there are people also who can't wear alpaca, but I just feel like mohair is a lot more easily accessible, especially when it comes to like lace weight yarns. And so I just love that their super thin fluffy lace weight yarn is 100% organic alpaca, and it is so soft. And I'm currently holding it with this organic soft merino, which is like a fingering weight. For the Monday sweater by Petite Knit, I'm doing it in a different colorway, but still the same yarn, and they just pair so nicely together. They've been able to match these colorways just so perfectly, which isn't easy to do when you're dyeing on different bases of yarn. That's one thing I've learned from getting a better understanding of how dyeing yarn works, is that not all bases take the yarn dye in the same way, but I feel like they have really nailed it when it comes to matching the colorways on different bases, so that when you hold them together, they work perfectly and it's like a seamless blend, and it just adds that extra bit of fluff to your knit, but it doesn't change the color. So I really, really love that. They had so many beautiful colors that it was so hard to choose, and they're all just like super bright colors, and I just love that. I mean, not all super bright, but a lot of them are just like bright, fun, vibrant, just like statement colors, bold colors that I feel like, especially in the Nordic brands, isn't so common. And so that's what I kind of really love about Kaos Yarn, and what sets it apart from some of the other brands is their color range. It's honestly a bit brave because, I don't know, the market in Scandinavia is definitely different and it definitely steers more neutral, but I love that they're just like going for it, and people like me appreciate it so much. So yeah, and so far the quality of the yarn is just amazing. It's all certified organic fibers, which I also love, and it's also kind of rare to see. So this is definitely one of my new favorites, and I'm really excited to use their yarn a lot more in the future. They also do have an online shop and I'm pretty sure ship worldwide. So you know, I'm sure I'll be ordering from them again in the future, since I don't know when the next time I'm going to be back in Scandinavia is. So yeah, I'm definitely thinking about already like my next order, and maybe I'll try their other yarn, the chunky Andean wool, because that's the only one that I haven't tried yet, and that's totally up my alley. So I'll definitely be looking at trying that one next, and I'll be sure to let you know my thoughts, obviously. The last two are also Nordic brands. What can I say, that they do it better than us, okay? They've got it all figured out, and you can't deny that. Next on the list is Hip Knit Shop, and this is a yarn from them that I absolutely love. This is their fluff yarn. It's a mohair, wool, and polyamide blend, and it's like a chunky, I'd say kind of close to an Aran weight yarn. And what I love about this yarn is that I can use it with so many different needle sizes. I could use it with a 4mm needle, or I could use it with a 15mm needle and get like a super airy mesh fabric. So there's so much variety and versatility with this yarn, and I could hold it double for an even like chunkier fabric, which I have done, or you know, hold it single for something a little bit more lightweight but still nice and warm. And yeah, I just really love this yarn. It's perfect for summer designs, it's perfect for winter designs. You can just really do so much with it. If you're partial to mohair, I really recommend it. They also have like another mohair yarn, which I think is a bit thinner, and also a wool that is, I think, quite similar to the chunky Andean wool. I think it's called the hip wool. And something I just really love about Hip Knit Shop is their color range. Like Kaos Yarn, I think that's what sets them apart from other brands. I will say this fluff yarn, I don't know for certain, but it feels exactly the same in my opinion to the Wool and the Gang Take Care mohair, which I also love, because like I said, they feel pretty much exactly the same. I haven't personally noticed a difference in the two yarns when working with them. But the reason I'm more partial to the fluff yarn is because the color range is just like unmatched. There's just so many more options, and like there's literally every single shade of every color you can think of, and it makes choosing colors really difficult, but also really fun, and yeah, and just like is a little bit less limiting. So even though I love the colors that Wool and the Gang offer, there definitely isn't as much variety, whereas like this yarn, there are several shades of every single color that you could think of. So that makes it a lot easier to kind of get exactly what you want and get like the perfect color combination for a project. So I really love this yarn for that reason. They are a Norwegian company and are available online, but also I think are stocked in certain stores in, I don't know if it's just Norway or also in other parts of Scandinavia, but you can shop online, which is what I've done. And yeah, I just really love their yarn and can't wait to use it more in the future. I also really love the kits that Hip Knit Shop offer. I'm yet to try one, but I have been so tempted. They have these incredibly beautiful like fruit inspired kits and designs that are just to die for, and every time I see any of their kits and designs on my feed, I'm always just like save immediately, because yeah, I just feel like a lot of brands that do kits aren't necessarily doing interesting color work, and I love that they are like, yeah, we do color work here, and like you can buy the kits and get the patterns to knit these like really cool and really fun and bright designs. So I think at some point I've just got to do it, and I've got to get one of their kits. There's a few that I've been eyeing for so long. There's too many things to knit and too little time in the day. And then the last brand I'm going to talk about is also one that I've not recently discovered. I've known about it for a long time, but recently been able to finally use, and that is Filcolana. It's like a classic Nordic brand. I have only used their Arwetta yarn so far. I do have the Tilia yarn as well that I'm going to be using for a project that I'm going to be re-knitting. I talked about this in my yarn haul, so if you want to hear more about that, you can. I have already used the Arwetta yarn, and this is all I have left to show for it, so sorry that it doesn't look very pretty and nice and, you know, a nice beautiful skein, but this is all I had left. I really loved the Arwetta yarn. It's super soft, but like super durable and nice to knit with. It is technically a sock yarn, but I used it for a tank top, so I love that. You can kind of easily interchange it between different types of projects. I'm sure I'll definitely make a pair of socks using this yarn at some point. I mean, not this, but using the Arwetta yarn at some point. It also comes in so many different colors. It was so hard to choose. And I just really like the way that they, I mean, I don't have it on me right now, but it's not in a donut, but it's, I guess, kind of like this, but imagine with this yarn. I don't know what this is called, what this type of skein is called, but yeah. And then the Tilia yarn is just so soft. Like, it just feels so nice on the skin. This is like a classic 70% mohair and 30% silk yarn, but I don't know, there's just something about it that made me want to get it over all the other options of the exact same yarn that they had. So we'll have to see how it goes, but I've only heard good things about it. So I'm very looking forward to knitting with this and to talking about my experience knitting with it in the future when I finally get around to re-knitting up that jumper, because it's on my list of many things to make with all the yarn that I bought while I was away. I also feel like the price point was very reasonable for both of those yarns. I only needed 2 skeins of the Arwetta yarn to make the mini mock neck, which I made with it, and I think that cost me like maybe 20 bucks or something around that price point in Australian dollars. And I bought the yarn from a local yarn store in Sweden, so I felt that was very reasonable. Whereas if I was buying a hand-dyed skein of sock yarn, which yes, obviously is hand-dyed and also comes in 100-gram skeins, not 50-gram, it would still cost me like double the price than what 2 skeins of Arwetta cost me. So from a price point perspective, I was just like pleasantly surprised. I expected it to be more. Don't know why I did, but I expected it to be more. I think I just always expect everything to be so expensive. But yeah, those are my favorite brands at the moment. It's my change. I have so much yarn that I'm so excited to use that I bought on my trip that I just haven't used yet, and so I feel like I can't necessarily speak to those brands just yet. But once I have, maybe my list will change. And also keep in mind, this is just commercial brands, so there are also so many beautiful indie dyers that I love. And also there are other brands that I like, but they just maybe didn't make it into my top 5 for whatever reason. I feel like there's definitely a common theme throughout all of these brands, that like they have to have a great color range and they have to have not just neutrals. Like that is very important to me. And then also the quality of the yarn needs to be good. It needs to be squishy. It needs to be soft. That is just like pretty much all I look for in a yarn, is like the colors, how soft it is, how squishy it is. That's basically all I need. And then obviously how nice it is to knit with, because there are some yarns that may appear a certain way and then don't stack up. But so far, all of these yarns that I talked about and these brands have been just really enjoyable to work with. So those are my favorites. I'm very curious to know what your favorite yarn brands are, so make sure to leave a comment letting me know. You can let me know your top 5, you can let me know your top 10, or if you just want to let me know one brand, are they the same as mine? Have you tried any of these yarns before, or did you learn about some new yarn brands that you've never heard of before in this video? Let me know in the comments down below. I think that's all I have to say in this video, so I'll wrap it up there. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe, and turn the notification bell on so you can be notified whenever I upload a new video. I think that's all, so happy knitting, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!